When you bring up Eddie Huang's name, a few things come to mind. Chef, hip-hop fan, TV host, rebel, a storyteller. Eddie is a Taiwanese Chinese-American author who wrote Fresh Off the Boat, a best-selling memoir that inspired the hit American TV sitcom of the same name, which is all about Eddie's struggles growing up as a young boy trying to fit in suburban Florida. In the last few years, Eddie has connected even more deeply with his Chinese culture and has chronicled the journey in his latest book, Double Cup Love, on the trail of family, food, and broken hearts in China. Eddie Huang is here with me now. Eddie, great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to meet you.
This is my favorite show to watch in hotels in China.
Hey, man, we like to hear that. That's awesome. I didn't pay him to say that,
no,
of course.
I watch it at the W all the time.
Do you? Okay,
yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear you're a fan.
Hopefully I get Starwood points for saying that.
Okay. All right, let's talk about you now. It's only been 3 years, right, since you wrote Fresh Off the Book, that memoir.
Yeah.
And now, all of a sudden, you're coming out with a new book.
Yeah.
That's pretty quick to pump out a new book. What was the inspiration behind Double Cup Love?
Yeah, it is. I remember when I wrote the first one, there were people, before they read it, were like, why would you read a memoir from someone who's 29 years old?
Yeah,
I'm like, well, read the book. It's good, you know? And it is very tough to write a memoir, but so much happened immediately after the launch of the first book. My life totally changed, and I had to deal with it, and I was really searching for myself once again. It's always, well, I don't think anything in life is either good or bad. It just is.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
It is. And, you know, it's the yin and yang thing. But I dealt with it because I shed a new skin writing the old book. I got a monkey off my back, and I said a lot of things.
Okay.
And I think the first book is very reactionary. It's at times angry and defiant.
Yep.
But, like, it's to be expected of someone who's an Asian that grew up in America, who a lot of people called black, and was not allowed to just be himself.
Yeah.
And so I wrote that book as a reaction for a lot of other Asian kids like me.
Yep.
And once I got it off my chest, I was like, wow, I don't need to be a reaction anymore. Now I need to figure out how I really think if all these external factors didn't exist. And I started to wonder, what would my life be like if I lived in China and I was born in China?
Yeah.
Right? So I went back to China, and I chronicled kind of this reverse migration.
Yep.
And I had also met a really, really cool girl in Brooklyn at the time. And before I went back to China, I met her, but the trip was already planned. So it's juggling, like, your love life, your identity, New York, China, and family, and going back to explore all these things.
So what did you learn about yourself and your identity going back to China?
Well, it affirmed a lot of what I already knew, which is that race is a social construct. The idea of Chinese is different in China, in Taiwan, in Singapore, in New York or LA. Right? And the only really definition of it that matters is yours. And so I think every person, whether you're Chinese or Taiwanese or Japanese or African American or Irish, you have to figure out what it means to you.
Yeah.
What your history, your culture, your language, and all those things that go into this social construct, which is race. And you have to take control of it. This book is very much about how if you actually start to dig and you start to actually do the personal work, you realize that everything that was put in your head by somebody else or society and you allowed it to define you is not real.
Yeah.
And that when you start to break it down, you can finally build yourself back up. Because for a long time, I was just a reaction to the way I was treated in America and the things that people said.
Yeah,
and this book is about owning it, developing actually my own identity that I believe in, that I've worked for, and like talking about it.
So do you, when you look at yourself now, do you see yourself as a Chinese American, Taiwanese American, or just you? I mean, what are you now?
They've all affected me, right? I mean, I identify as a Taiwanese, Chinese New Yorker that was, you know, touched by perverted Orlando, you know? So,
That's great.
Orlando's kind of the funny uncle that touched me. So, you know,
that's an interesting way to put it, Eddie. Yeah. Okay.
You know, but I have to give Orlando credit because if I hadn't been thrown in that washing machine where, like, no one really understood who they were or what it was or what the hell suburbia was.
Right.
In the 90s, like, I had to figure it out for myself. It wasn't like you're born in a community with a lot of Chinese Americans or Taiwanese Americans and you can kind of define yourself by proxy.
Right.
In Orlando, I was the one kid.
Yeah.
And then I had to figure out what it was about life in America, Orlando, and everything in the world that spoke to me.
Yeah.
And so I thank Orlando for that.
Well, that's cool.
You know?
So fresh off the boat, obviously, you're saying it was a way that you shed some of that image and, you know, some of the stuff that you needed to get rid of, right?
Yeah.
What I find interesting, though, you know, as we know, there's the TV sitcom that's doing really well called Fresh Off the Boat. It's inspired by your memoir. It's been 21 years since there was an Asian American sitcom. The first one was Margaret Cho's All American Girl. It lasted one season. It did horribly. It was totally rejected by viewers. Do you think things have changed enough that in 21 years, now people are like, oh, yeah, we can see Asians on TV. That's pretty cool.
You know, I'll tell you what it is. I don't think it's the people that have changed, because even when I was growing up in Orlando in the 90s, yes, people made fun of me.
Right.
But the friends I had that came to my house and ate my mom's food, it is undeniable how good Taiwanese beef noodle soup is. Undeniable. Yeah. Every single kid, Palestinian, white, Native American, black, came to my crib.
Right.
They ate that and they were like, wow, this is great.
Yeah.
I want to know more. You know? And yeah, my friends called me Chinaman all through middle school, all through high school. It was like my nickname to call me China or Chinaman or whatever, or Kamikaze. But you know what? I definitely believe they were genuinely interested in what I was doing. They didn't know how to express it. You know, people hadn't taught them how to deal with my culture.
Right.
But I think that people have a genuine interest in individuals. And so the problem for me is that I don't think networks give these things a chance. And it goes into the whole Oscars so white thing.
Yep.
Is that you need to give people a chance to tell you what they like. But if you keep giving them what they've proven to like, you're never going to figure out anything else.
Yeah.
And the thing is that if you work in Hollywood, you see that when you go to do a pitch, your agent, whoever is working with you, says you need to make a comparison. You have to compare it to something that's proven that they already know sells, and then tell them why this is a new spin on that.
Right.
And then they'll buy it because they're risk averse. But you know what? Like true visionaries, real artists, they don't look at other people. They're not reading other people. They speak from the heart. It's a voice that is unstoppable. And it's the artistic process is the most beautiful thing, because at least for me, it genuinely feels like it's the hand of God. Do you know what I mean? Like something is coming out of you. I don't even think I do it on my own.
Yeah.
I think it's like a human or universal spirit, and you can't stop it.
Well, you know, with Oscars, I don't know if you saw the show, but I'm sure you heard about the backlash, right? There are two jokes that were made during the Oscars that were derogatory towards Asians. And everyone's reaction in the Asian community, and non-Asians too, they're like, wait a minute, why is this okay?
Yeah.
Here's a show. It was all about the lack of diversity in Hollywood. But it's okay to make fun of Asians.
Yeah, you know, the race conversation in America has always been binary. It's black and it's white, and nobody else, you know, gets a voice, or nobody else really matters in between. You know, that's not how I think white people feel. That's not how I think black people feel. That is the way that society has pitted us against ourselves, you know? Like, society plays the barbarians against each other.
Yeah.
That's what they do. It's the oldest trick in the book. But, you know, for me, I think 99% of what Chris Rock did that night was phenomenal. The way that he navigated African America's relationship with media, entertainment, race, everything was masterful. I thought it was incredible. That joke about Asians was terrible.
The results of tonight's Academy Awards have been tabulated by the accounting firm of Price, Waterhouse, and Cooper. They sent us their most dedicated, accurate, and hard-working representatives. I want you to please welcome Ming Zhu, Bao Ling, and David Moskowitz.
And it just goes to show someone as brilliant as Chris Rock that can understand black and white relations from his perspective has a blind spot.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to take another black man down. Like, it's hard enough. Do you know what I mean? And it's not that I'm holding him to a lower standard than I would a white person.
Right.
But the thing is that, like, I think 99 out of the maybe 100 jokes he told was fantastic.
Yeah.
And he told one really bad one. And I want to know who wrote it. And if he wrote it, then, you know what? He should apologize.
Shame on him, yeah.
But it doesn't undercut centuries of conditioning.
Yeah.
And to, like, blame him individually, like, he's kind of the wrong
But
one.
it does tell you that we still have some progress to be made,
I mean,
right? Obviously, yeah.
If you needed that to tell you, though, like, come on, what have you been watching?
No.
Yeah, there's a lot of progress.
There's definitely a lot of progress that still needs to be made. I'm curious, though.
People, when I say I'm from Taiwan,
Yeah.
when I say I'm Taiwanese, people still think I'm from Thailand. You know what I mean? Like, there's
Totally.
a lot of progress to be made.
Well, you know, people still say, where are you from? And then I'll say, oh, I'm from Ohio, original. No, where are you really from?
Yeah.
Right? So there's still
Yeah,
that
just say, ask
kind
me
of-
what my race is. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'll
Right.
tell you what my race is. I'm not ashamed of it.
Right,
But
right.
yeah, just where I'm from this is actually where I'm from.
Exactly,
You know?
exactly. I'm curious, your love of hip hop and black culture, where does that come from, and what is it about that culture and that music that you gravitate towards?
Well, it's just that because race is binary. When
Yeah.
you grew up in America, you only saw white or black people on television. It was an Asian person on television. It was Long Duck Dong, Saturday afternoon, after WWF, and he was like riding a unicycle, a stationary bike next to a girl that he had the hots for.
Right.
You know, and I was just like, Asians are emasculated. We're basically paralyzed in the media. We're not allowed to be whole individuals. And neither are black people or Latino people or gay people or women. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so the thing is, though, I felt like black people laid a lot of the groundwork for civil rights, for us to start to understand what was happening to us because it happened to them.
Yeah.
And I gravitated towards it. I related to it. And even as a 5-year-old kid, I would watch black movies. I would listen to black music. I would watch the athletes, listen to what they said. I loved Charles Barkley. I modeled so much of myself after Charles
Did
Barkley.
you really?
Yeah. He was literally one
Charles
of my
Barkley,
biggest
for
role
those of you who
models.
don't know, NBA
Yeah.
superstar. Yeah.
Yeah, because he wouldn't let people define him as a fat guy, as some country dude from Alabama. Like, he spoke up for himself. And so, you know, I just saw lots of black people in America sticking up for themselves and what they believed in. And they were kind of the only people that we were allowed to see do it.
Yeah. I hate to say this because if I say it, I'm feeding into the stereotype, but I'm going to say it anyway. The stereotype of Asians is that we don't speak out. We're not vocal. We're the
Yeah.
silent minority, and, you know, we just kind of do our thing, right?
Yeah.
So it's refreshing, but also I think it's sometimes shocking for people when they see someone like you
Yeah.
who's just going to say whatever he feels like saying.
Yeah, I speak at colleges a lot, and Asian kids literally ask me, what made you think you could do this?
Huh.
What gives you the confidence to do this?
Right.
Why can you do this? And I was just like, because I knew I needed to. Like, I felt a duty to myself, my grandparents, everybody. Because when people call you a chink in school, or people push you down, or people want to fight you, you're like, you know what? My parents didn't come to America for this.
That's
and this is
right.
not who I am.
That's right.
I'm not the bottom of the barrel, and I refuse to let you think that. And
Good
so,
for
like,
you.
I stuck up for myself, my family, and everybody else that I know that gets that same treatment.
That gets put down. Listen, Matt, I mean, I did too, right?
But I really think that individuals want to do the right thing.
They do.
You know, I meet people from all walks of life, different races. They meet you on a personal level. They care about you. They want to do right by you. They'll start to ask you, hey, what should I call you? What should I do? And, you know, it's almost weird to say or teach them, but you have to do it, right?
Yeah.
And I think the thing that's really to blame is that society continues to proliferate this idea of race as like a reality. That, like, because of this skin, you do that, and because of that skin, you do that. But it's not true. These are characteristics that have been attached, like, socially and politically through hundreds of years, but they're not real.
Yeah.
And that's everything that the second book is about. It's
Yeah.
like to break the chains of race as a social construct.
And what do you find out? What did you find out by writing this book? Did you get an answer?
Yeah, of
For
course.
yourself, yeah?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you got to read the book. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good way to pitch it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, otherwise, what am I selling you?
Well, let me ask you this then. Let me ask you this, because the book was about your journey back to your identity, you know,
Yeah.
your roots. It's also about love,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And trying to figure out what that means to you.
Because
and
that's the thing that is the most difficult to do with all of these stereotypes swirling, like love. When you're in an interracial relationship,
Yeah.
everything becomes a crucible. Because now you're living with people from a different race. And, like, it may be easy to go to dinner with people that are from a different walk of life than you and enjoy them for 2 or 3 hours and go home and be like, you know, it was really nice. I learned a lot from them. I'm not going to see them for 3 months. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
You do it 4 times a year and you're like, no, I really understand these people now. But when you are engaged to somebody or you're in a relationship, like, their family is now your family. And when you're in that crucible and when it's that close, that's when your beliefs and values really start to get tested.
Yeah.
you know?
For you, though, going back to China, I know you convinced your two brothers to come with you, right?
And you know what? My middle brother now lives in Chengdu.
Oh, okay.
He loved it so much. The trip did so much for him. He now lives in Chengdu. He owns a restaurant called Papa's Fried Chicken in Chengdu.
No kidding.
Yeah, he opened a fried chicken
Is it
spot
doing
in
well?
Chengdu. Doing really well. He's great.
Wow.
His fried chicken's awesome.
Well, okay, so food runs in your family, clearly.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, food is such a part of Asian culture anyway, Chinese culture for sure. For you to be a chef, I mean, was that part of the plan for you, or did you just sort of decide
my parents did not want me to be a chef.
Okay.
They did not want
because
me.
They were restaurateurs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they did not want you to go in the food business.
No, my dad in college wanted me to run his restaurant. But once I got out of that, I went to law school. He wanted me to be a lawyer.
Right.
And then I wanted to open the restaurant. And
did you want to go to law school?
I felt like it was a good thing for me to go to law school. It was not something I genuinely wanted to do, but I had run into trouble with the law, and I was trying to go to a lot of MFA programs. I wanted to make movies and I wanted to write books, but I had to check the box because I was a felon in America. Not a felon. I was very complicated.
Okay.
I pled nolo contendo. So it's a withhold of adjudication. It's a very like purgatory in the legal field.
Oh, wow.
But
okay.
There was a case. It was like self-defense, but then we didn't want to go to court. We pled out, right?
Okay.
So when I was applying to schools, I had to check the box like, yes, I have a criminal record, right? And then I said, you know, I think if I go to law school and I behave myself for 3 years, prove myself, do well in law school, then maybe people will look at me like a good person, right? They'll give me another chance. I needed a second chance, and I felt like going to law school, getting that piece of paper, and saying, hey, I can accomplish these things intellectually, and I behave myself, like, I need a second chance. So that's why I went to law school.
Oh, wow. So it's not really that you wanted to maybe practice law, per se.
I never wanted to practice law. I was interested in social justice, though.
Right.
Very interested in social justice. And once I got there, I was like, you know what? If I got to work in constitutional law or intellectual property law, I would do this. Because I think those are the two most interesting fields.
Yeah.
But, you know, I won this fellowship. I got placed at a big firm, and then they had me doing, you know, corporate law. And
I cannot see you doing that, Eddie.
No, nobody can. I got out in 6 months. You know?
You did?
I was like giving myself haircuts at the law firm and goofing around.
Okay,
so,
okay.
yeah.
But hey, you gave it a go at least. But
Yeah,
then you found your passion for food and cooking, and obviously that's done well for you.
I always loved food. And the thing was, I would cook Chinese New Year at my crib, and people would come over. People would eat the food, and then I did this Food Network show, and then, you know, people at the network and my friends were like, dude, you really should sell this. This is a travesty if you don't sell this food. People should be able to experience this. And
wow.
That's why I opened Bauhaus.
No kidding. What's your favorite dish to make?
Red cooked pork.
Yeah?
Red cooked pork is my favorite. Hong Song
Really?
roll.
Does it just make people swoon?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
It's good. I think I make the best red cooked pork.
Right on.
Yeah.
Well, Eddie, it was such a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Yeah.
Hey, good luck with the book.
Yeah.
And all of your other projects that you're working on.
Yeah, I hope you read it.
Yeah, I'll see you soon, and I'll let you know.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, coming up next, comic heroes with a cultural impact. We'll be right back.